Hey everybody, it's Max Action here, and I have my good friend Mallory, and I wanted to have a different type of video here where I've got an additional person, so it's not just me chatting with you. But one of the most important things I wanted to talk to you guys about today is number one, just showing up, because we're here and we're making sure that I've got this video for you, because that's my number one priority, is making sure that I'm here for you and that you're doing the same. We're in this together. We're building something over the course of 90 days. But I was just talking with Mallory, and we were talking about something really, really important. So I wanted to get her on here so we can share this. Now, Mallory was telling me about some different things that she went through in her life, and coming to this realization, this self-awareness that she is responsible. And I think this is really important, because taking responsibility for yourself and taking responsibility for your own actions is what really is going to drive you forward. Because if it's always everybody else's fault, then how can you fix that? You can't. There's no way to fix it unless you take on that responsibility. So, Mallory, I want to ask, when was the first, what was it that kind of led you to this self-awareness that you have now today?
I think it started just because I was kind of getting over living in the past, and I was starting to make some decisions for a long time that weren't benefiting me, they weren't benefiting my friends. And so I finally just one day, it was one of the hardest things I did, but I was like, if you want to fix this, you have to look at yourself. And that's when I came to the realization that if we just blame other people or we blame what we went through growing up, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to live in that. You're going to always be the victim no matter what. You're not going to be the tough one. And that's when I finally it was really, really hard, but I looked in the mirror and I was like, you are the problem. Not always the problem, but I was causing a lot of the problems that I made in my life because I was so stuck on what I went through. Instead of looking more at who do I want to become, it was more just, I went through this, I'm allowed to be kind of a bad person, I'm allowed to be a bad friend, I didn't have good influence, so why do I have to be a good influence? And it was getting me nowhere, besides being at home depressed and alone.
Now, when you grew up, you've grown up in a fractured family where
Yep.
you have brothers and sisters that all share a common parent, but are all
Spread
over the
out,
place.
no relationship.
And you were taken from them in the middle of the night. Tell me about that.
So my mom went through a couple of hard things all in a short span of time. So my dad died, my grandma died, her mom, and then I was diagnosed with diabetes, so I was in like a little coma, and she kind of just had a meltdown, and so because of that moved us to Minnesota from California, which was completely random place, random town, away from everything. So it was very isolating. I had all this family, but yet none of this family knew me. I'm the youngest out of everyone, and we never had the time to meet or do anything, and it was just kind of new state, new storyline, no one there.
Right.
So,
And then from there, it would have been easy for you to say, I've had this really difficult life.
yep.
And this is the reason why I can't be successful, because these other people in my life weren't there to support me, weren't
Yep.
there to teach me, weren't there to give me the tools that I need to succeed.
Yep.
And then where have you come from there? Because you're now living in Southern California, right?
Yep. So, as a teenager, I just dealt with a lot. I had pretty bad anxiety. I had bad depression. I think it was a lot of just isolation, not knowing what are you supposed to do. So then I was kind of like a rough around the edge teenager. I was kind of partying a lot, making bad friends, stuff like that. And then when I was 20, I think I just got to a point where I was like, I have no lifelong friends. I have no success. I have nothing that I can really be proud of. And that's when I did like a deep dive and I'm like, what has been holding you back? And that's when the self-reflecting came, and it's, my mom's not holding me back. I'm an adult. My family is not holding me back. My decisions are the ones holding me back. And in our lives, I feel like the only thing that we have control of is our decisions and what we decide to do. No one around you decides what happens to you. It might feel that way at times, and it might be really hard at times because it feels like everyone's controlling it. But at the end of the day, you are the only one. Like, the relationships and the effort you put into that, it's on you. Like, the effort you put into jobs is on you. The effort you put into growing, it's on you. And you're not gonna grow until you realize that you are the problem in certain aspects. And everyone's the problem in certain aspects. No one's perfect. We like to pretend that we're perfect.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that we are not to blame at all. And that it's all these outside forces that are the reason that things are going bad. And it's really easy to be like, woe is me. I didn't have this. I didn't have money growing up. I didn't have support growing up. My family is addicts. Like, all of those reasons, don't get me wrong, they shape you and you should hold on to them, but at the same time, you are your own person. No, everyone can be just as successful as they want to if they try and they look at themselves.
It's just about where it is you're going, what it is
Yeah.
you're going to focus on,
What do
and
you
what are
actually
you going
wanna
to
do?
do now. Yeah. Because you could be sitting there saying like, oh, I can't. I've got all of these
Yep.
reasons why I'm going to fail. I got all these reasons why I can't do this. And then you're just going to make that decision to say, all right, I've got all these things going against me, but I'm not going to let that keep me down. I'm not going to let
Yep.
that stop me. I'm not going to let that define who I am.
Life is life, and there's always going to be a reason that you shouldn't get up. However, there's always going to be reasons that you can make to get up. So why would you just don't let outside forces affect it? I feel like if you want to be tough, you want to be the strong one, you want to make something happen, it depends on you.
Yeah.
It doesn't depend on anyone else in your life. It comes down to you. And it's hard, like, it's not easy. I get it. Like, trust me,
Yeah.
It was years and years of me working on myself to get to the point where I'm at, where I could just, like, I went on a whim. I sold everything I owned. I left everyone I knew, and I'm like, I'm going to California.
Right.
And, like, most people are like, that's insane. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
But I trusted in myself, and I knew that I could handle it. And I knew that it would be hard. But I also knew that I'm strong just like everyone is strong. And if you put in the effort, you can literally accomplish anything you want.
Right.
There's nothing holding you back.
You made the decision, you took action, and here you are.
Yeah.
And you're living life in Southern California,
Yep.
moving all the way from Minnesota. And you just made the decision to do it, as opposed to somebody else that says, oh man, that would be really cool. Oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, I'd love to do that one day. And it's like, no.
And then you end up being 80.
Yeah.
And you never did it.
And then probably.
And then it's like, oh, I just hoped the whole time.
Right. And then the worst thing is going to be saying you regret everything that happened your
Yep.
entire life. And it's the one thing that you can't change because it's already done.
Yep.
And it's like, oh man, I wish I could. I woulda, I coulda, I shoulda. And it's like, right, but you didn't. You didn't take any action on it. So here you are, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess at that point it's saying, is the lesson's going to come at some point or another.
Yep.
And the lesson might show up multiple times. But now the question is, are you going to listen to it? Are you going to learn it? Or are we going to have to go over this lesson again?
Yep.
You know, how many...
Oh, and there will always be lessons. Like,
Yeah.
You will always be growing. I used to think, like, when I was 20 and I went through my first hard year of self-reflecting and, like I said, admitting I was the problem, get out of bed, start working on this stuff, I was like, okay, we self-healed. We're there.
Yeah.
No more lessons, no more growing, right? Because
Right.
we put in the work. I'm 24 now. It's been 3 years of I will be having the best day, I'll be having the worst day. No matter what, there's a lesson, there's growth.
Yeah.
Every single day, every person is growing.
Right.
If you put in the work, you know?
Right. I mean, that's the thing, is you've got to show up. You've got to put the work in. Like, you don't just automatically know everything. You don't just automatically...
Oh, and you're never gonna.
Yeah. it's like through the repeated... And this is what we've been talking about, is just through those failures, just through those times. It's like, oh, no, I failed. No, you didn't fail. You learned something. You know, we reframe failure as saying, it's not you. It's not, oh, you failed. You're a terrible person.
Yep.
You're dumb. You're this. You're that. It's none of that. It's like, no, you learned something. This is a time to celebrate. Like, let's lean into failure. Let's look for it. Because
I used to be terrified of failure, and now I welcome it, because it's what you just said. I learned something no matter what. I'm like, oh, you messed up, or you failed at this, but
right.
You learned how to do it, actually. There's no failing in it.
Tell me about the last time that you failed, and what'd you learn from it? Like, what's the latest thing that you've learned? I know I'm like totally putting you on the spot here.
I know.
On this.
Well, like, people. I know that's pretty broad, but I used to be so scared of like trying to make friends or meeting new people and failing at it. Like, they didn't want anything to do with me. Like, that was my biggest fear. So I would stay inside. I wouldn't talk to anyone. I wouldn't, like, go out to a bar and make friends, or, like, at my job, go out with people from there. Because I was like, they're not going to like me.
Right.
You're failing at that. Like, you're not cool enough, kind of, or you're not funny enough. And then the last year, I've done that. Like, even now, like, I'm the 11th kid. 6 of them I've just met, 6 of my siblings in the past 3 years. Like, I was scared at first. I was like, they don't know me. They don't have to love me. They don't have to like me. Like, we're strangers.
Yeah.
And every single one of them was like, oh my gosh, like, we love you. You're funny. You're outgoing. Like, you fit in. And even at work, like, I started my past job in Minnesota. Like, I actually started going out with people. I wanted to be like, no, I'm going home. Like, thank you for the invite. But I started going out, and I met, like, the best friends I've ever met, because they're like, oh, we're so thankful. Like, you opened yourself up. Not a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people actually are like, oh, these are strangers. I'll go have a drink with them and talk.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the biggest thing that taught me that you don't fail at things. Because, like I said, for years I was so scared to make friends or meet strangers or come see my family, because I'm like, what if they don't like me? What if I fail at being the person they want? And then every single person welcomed me, and I'm like, oh.
You realize, like what you were
like, at this point, like, I could skydive if I wanted to. Like it took away the fear of bigger things. Like, getting new jobs now. I used to be terrified of, like, interviews or applying for jobs. Like, going out to stores by myself, doing adventurous things.
Right.
Like, and now I travel by myself all the time, like 6 times a year. I do adventurous things. Like, I planned with a friend to go skydiving in, like, a month.
Right.
Like, it's weird, because as soon as you start taking the steps, you're like, nothing actually is scary. Like, why have I been holding back all this time? Right.
Like, you just took that first step forward.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh no, I could fail at this. And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, like, this wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
Oh, what was I worried about? Like, for years and years and years. Right. It was nothing. And now each time it sounds like that's giving you confidence every single time that you've tried something that was outside of your comfort zone. But then you realize, oh, wait a minute, this isn't that bad. This isn't as bad as I thought it would be. And each time your confidence just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows.
Which, I still get scared and anxious, but at the same time, are you getting scared and anxious and not doing it because of that? Or are you getting scared and anxious because you're normal and you're still doing it?
Right. Like, you're still human.
And now
you still
I'm
have those
still
emotions.
doing it, because every human's going to have those emotions. But what I'm saying is, like, try to just, like, put them on the back burner. And still do it. Because I used to let it keep me inside all the time.
Yeah.
And now I let it push me to do things where I'm like, oh, I was anxious for like an hour, but it ended up being something that I'm going to tell someone about for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know? It's one of those things. So don't let it hold you back. I try to tell people that. And it's funny because most people who see me traveling and doing stuff now, they're like, oh, you're a natural. You must never panic. You must be so calm and collected. And I'm like,
if you only
I was
knew
crying at home before I did this, but I
Right.
still did it, you know?
I mean,
So-
you're like a duck on a water. Like the duck on the water looks just peaceful,
Yeah.
serene, just floating along. But then underneath the water, he's like,
Literally,
"Oh, man,
like-
let's go," you know?
Yeah.
And
And
that's,
I think that that's what not a lot of people see is all of the people that you look up to and you admire and you're like, oh, they do it with such ease. How are they so calm?
yeah,
Oh, they're never stressed in their life. They are.
yeah,
They're just not letting it hold them back.
right. They're not letting that tell them who they're going
Yeah.
to be. They're saying, no, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I want to do that. And then they take that first step forward and then
Yeah.
and make it happen and go, all right, I might fail at this. I might.
And it's okay
But
if
then-
you fail.
Yeah, it's okay. It's like,
Because so many people have failed. That was
Right.
another thing that helped me. Like, I did research on, like, some of the most successful people ever. And the people that we look at as the smartest. And they failed, like, 1,000,000 times.
Right.
Before they succeeded. And that didn't stop them.
right.
You know?
And we know them now because of the success that they
Yeah.
had.
We don't
But
know
we
them
don't
from
know-
the failure.
Yeah,
It's not like, he's, like, a famous singer, but he had, like, 3 record labels not accept him.
yeah,
You're just looking at, oh, he's a famous singer. Like, I don't think you gotta look at the big picture, which I never thought I would be that kind of person.
right.
But the last 4 years, I'm like, oh, I'm that kind of person.
How has life changed since you started looking at the big picture versus just that narrow focus of, oh no, I couldn't do this?
I'm more adventurous. I feel like I have a lot more friends, like real friends in my life. And I just feel like I'm doing more things that, like I said, I'll be able to, when I'm older, actually sit down and tell my grandkids. And that sounds cliche, but, like, I will, where I can tell my grandkids, like, I did this.
Yeah,
Oh, like, my 25th year, I did this all year. My 26th year, like, I did this. Like, we talked about cruises today. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm getting my passport.
yeah,
Like, because I want to travel. I think looking at the big picture has made me realize just how much I think we get in our heads and we think we have all this time and we really don't.
Mhm.
And so I think looking at the big picture has made me realize we don't have as much time as we think. I've had years go by in what feels like a week.
yeah, yeah,
You know, and it's like, I remember when I just turned 21. How am I already like 3 years down the road? And I'm still young.
right.
So
yeah.
I can't even
You definitely
imagine. I've died, like, the other day I talked to an Uber driver and he's like, I didn't start traveling until I was 50. He's
Wow,
like, and I
yeah.
regret it.
Right, yeah,
I was so scared to do that by myself. And then he looked at me in the back seat. He's like, you're literally going on a 3-hour bus ride right now and you're 24. He's like, and you told me that you've traveled like half of the United States by yourself.
yeah,
He's like, I should have done that at your age. Like, and that's what I think people should know is time is always moving, no matter how much we want it not to be.
hmm
Look at the big picture.
and that's huge because exactly what you said. Time is constantly moving, and if we're not doing the things that we want to do today, right now, when it matters, then we're just going to be years and years and years ahead later on and looking back on today and saying, man, I wish I did it. Because one of my favorite sayings that I've heard is they said, you're going to be saying 10 years from now, you're going to be saying one of two things. Man, I'm really glad that I went and did that thing. Or man, I really wish I would have done that
Yep.
thing. And the question is which one do you want to be saying? Do you want to be living in regret, or do you want to be living in appreciation, knowing that you took action, that you've been living your life the way that you want to on your terms?
Yeah.
And that's huge. Well, I want to thank you for being
Of
on this
course.
video with me because I know that everybody watching got something really good. I hope you got some extreme value out of this. And if anything, this is what we're doing right here in this 90 days. Build something with me. we're building something. We're taking that action. We're getting just a little bit better every single day. And that's what's going to lead us to our ultimate goal and lead us to living the lives that we really want to be.
And it's worth it. And it's all possible.
It is.
It's more possible than we think.
I love it. So I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to see you tomorrow. So you'll be here. I'll be here. And until tomorrow, take action now.